Good morning, children. Welcome back to our math session. Today we are introducing a new chapter, that is chapter number 6, Squares and Square Roots. In this video, we can see the introduction part 1. Let me start. Topics to be covered in this chapter are introduction, perfect squares or square numbers, properties of square numbers, patterns of square numbers, Pythagorean triplets. Few more topics are there. That topics we will discuss with the next video, that is introduction part 2. Okay. Now, let's start our first point, that is introduction. What comes to your mind when you think about a square? Yes, this chapter is finally about squares and square roots, isn't it? So that we will come to square roots later. First, let's discuss squares. You might be thinking that we have already learned about squares, isn't it? Yes, square is a geometrical figure with all the four sides are equal and four angles also equal, and each angle is equal to 90 degree. Yes? Yeah. So this is the square. As you can see here, each angle 90 degree, all sides equal. So it's a square, isn't it? Yes, perfect. You are right. Now, how do we find the area of a square? Let's see that if this is a square and each side of the square is 1 centimeter in length. So that's the length of each side. How do we find the area of this square? The area of the square would be side into side, isn't it? Yes, that is length of one side multiplied by the length of another side. So here 1 into 1, that is 1 centimeter square. Yeah, 1 square centimeter. So this how we find the area of the square. Okay. Now, what happens if we increase the size of the square? For example, here also this is the square, but this time each side measures 3 centimeter in length. So, this time what would be the area of this square? This would be 3 into 3. 3 into 3 is 9. So, 9 centimeter square would be the area of this square. Similarly, if you have a still bigger square where each side is 5 centimeter, then what would be the area? So in this case, the area would be 5 into 5. That is 25. So 25 square centimeter will be the area. So what are we actually doing to find out the area of the square? We are primarily multiplying a number by itself, isn't it? Multiplying the number by the number itself. So, for example, 1 into 1, like as 3 into 3, same way 5 into 5, isn't it? So, if you see here, 1 is multiplied by itself, that is 1. 3 is multiplied by 3, that is 9. 5 multiplied by 5, that is 25. So every time you want to find the area of a square, doesn't matter how big the square is, because the size of the square depends only the length of each side, isn't it? Yes. So doesn't matter what is the length of each side, but every time you find the area of the square, you are going to multiply a number, but that number represents the side length with itself. And whenever we multiply a number by itself, what we get? It's a square. Like 1 into 1 is nothing but 1 square. This is how we read it. And this can also be read as 1 to the power 2. So when we say 1 to the power 2, that means 1 is multiplied by 1. That is 2 times there are 1 which are getting multiplied. 3 into 3, this can be written as 3 square, which is 3 to the power 2. So here is, in this lesson, our focus is not on the geometrical shape of square, rather our focus is on square of numbers like as 1 square, 3 square, 5 square, etc. Understood? Then what is a square? Square means if we multiplying a number by itself is called a square. Here in the box also you can see some numbers are given there, means finding area like as 2 into 2, that means 2 square is equal to 4. 3 into 3, 3 square is 9. 4 into 4, 4 square, that is 16. 10 into 10, 10 square, that is 100. Like next point is perfect squares or square numbers. In previous slide, we already told that what is a square. A number is multiplying by itself, we get a square. So here, what are perfect squares? Perfect squares are integers or numbers multiplied to itself, it gives a perfect square. So you think of any example or you think of an individual like 1. So when 1 is multiplied to itself, you get 1 square. So this is the perfect square. 2 multiplied to itself, you get 2 square. The value is 4. So 4 is the perfect square. 3 multiplied by 3, you get 3 square. The value is 9. So 9 is the perfect square. 4 into 4 is 16. So 16 is the perfect square. 10 into 10 is equal to 10 square, that is 100. So 100 is also a perfect square. Whenever you talk about a number which is obtained by multiplying an integer with itself, that number is called a perfect square. Another question is, why have we given this name perfect square? Is it that not all numbers have perfect squares? Because we have so many numbers, isn't it? So here we see some examples like 1, 4, 9, 16, 100, so on. But don't we think that every number is a perfect square? No, that is not possible, isn't it? Only some numbers are perfect squares. In fact, that is why we have given this special name to these numbers. Let's see what are non-perfect squares. That means those numbers which are not perfect square. And what do they like? So now if you very closely observe the perfect squares from the beginning, I will start with a 1. When you see the list, you will see that there are many numbers in between those perfect squares which are non-perfect squares. So non-perfect squares are lying in between perfect squares. So the question is, how many non-perfect squares exist between two consecutive perfect squares? Okay, we will talk about the numbers here. Okay, first let's see, do they exist between perfect squares? Let's look at the table. So here, all those numbers which are written in the box are perfect squares, isn't it? Let's start with squaring the smallest possible natural number, which is 1. So square 1, you get 1. This is a perfect square, isn't it? Then next possible integer would be 2. When square 2, you get 4. Means 1 square is 1, 2 square is 4. Then what about 2 and 3? So next possible integer 2. First number is 1, the square is 1. Second number is 2, the square is 4. Then in between 2 and 3 that are missing. So 2 and 3, they are non-perfect squares because we are squared the two consecutive integers and the result we have obtained are not consecutive. Like when we square 1, we get 1. But we square 2, we got 4, not 2, isn't it? So what happens 2 and 3? They are missed. Why are they missed? Because they are non-perfect squares. Well, there is no such numbers which when multiplied to itself to gives 2. So when I say I'm talking about integers, similarly when you squares 3, you get 9. So what happens to the numbers between 4 and 9 like a 5, 6, 7 and 8? So they were missed. So these numbers which are getting missed in between, they are nothing but non-perfect squares. So one more interesting things that we can see here, we observed as the value of the perfect square increases, like earlier it was 1, then 4, then 9, then 16, so on. Isn't it? As the value of the perfect squares are increasing, do you notice something that the number of non-perfect squares are also increasing? Like initially between 1 and 4, there are two non-perfect squares. Like between 4 and 9, there are four non-perfect squares. Like as between 9 and 16, there are 6 non-perfect squares are there, and so on. Isn't it? So basically, as the value of the perfect squares are increasing, then the number of non-perfect squares between them is also increasing. Now, do you think that a fixed number of non-perfect squares exist between two consecutive perfect squares? So, two consecutive perfect squares could be 1 and 4, 4 and 9, 9 and 16. So, how many non-perfect squares exist between them? So from this observation, you would see that between squares of numbers n and n plus 1, that is two consecutive perfect squares, there exist 2n non-perfect squares. So if we let's see that the value of n, let n is equal to 1. So if n is equal to 1, that means as per this statement, between 1 and 1 plus 1, which is 2. So between n and n plus 1, that is between 1 and 2, how many non-perfect squares should exist? 2n. That is 2 into 1. That is equal to 2. So there should be two non-perfect squares, and then we look at this, you can say that yes, there are two non-perfect squares, that are 2 and 3. So this formula is true, isn't it? Let's take the same formula for some other value. If next we can take n is equal to 5. So if n is 5, that means between the squares of numbers 5 and 6 means 5 square and 6 square. How many non-perfect square numbers are getting? 2 into n, that is 2 into 5. So there should be 10 non-perfect squares between 5 square and 6 square. Let's check. Here 5 square means 25. 6 square 36. So 25 to 36. How many numbers are there? Means you can count from 26 to 35. Yes, here 10 non-perfect squares are there. So this is a very simple formula which has been derived after observing this pattern, and this formula holds true for all the perfect and non-perfect squares. So when even you have two consecutive perfect squares, the number of non-perfect squares between them would be always 2n. So even put this formula and you can calculate how many non-perfect squares will exist between two perfect squares. Clear? So in this topic we have completed perfect squares, yeah, square numbers. Next point is properties of square numbers. First property. In square numbers, the digits at the units place are always 0, 1, 4, 5, 6, or 9. The numbers having 2, 3, 7 or 8 at its unit place are not perfect square numbers. We already seen in last slide, isn't it? The square of 1 is 1. Square of 2 is 4. Like a square of 11, that is 121. So unit place it is coming 1. 4 4 jar 16. Unit place it is 6. 3 3 jar 9. Like as 13 into 13, 169. So if it is 3 in the numbers unit place, then square number will be 9. So like that, 0, 1, 4, 5, 6 and 9 are coming in the unit place of a perfect square numbers. Like as 2, 3, 7 or 8 never comes at the unit place of a perfect square numbers. Clear? Now what is second property? Second property is if a number has 1 or 9 in the units place, then its square ends in 1. See the table 1. What is the square of 1? That is 1. 9. What is the square? 9 9 are 81. So what is at unit place? That is 1. 11. 11 square 121. So unit place it is 1. 19. 19 square, 19 into 19, 361. Here also the unit place it is 1. 21. 21 into 21, 441. So these all numbers means if a number is ending with 1 or 9, then their squares unit place ends with a 1. Clear? That is the now property. If a number has 2 or 8 in the units place, then its square ends in 4. See the table 2. The square of 2 is 4. 8, 64. 12, 144. 18, 324. 22, 484. All are ending with a 4, or the numbers are 2 and 8. In the unit digit it is 2 and 8, and the square unit digit it is 4 itself. Understood? So what is the property third? The third property is if a number has 2 or 8 in the unit place, then its square ends in 4. Now see property 4. The fourth property is if a number has 3 or 7 in the unit place, then its square ends in 9. 3. The square of 3 is 9. 7. 49. 13. What is the square? 169 means 3. So unit place 9. 17. 289. 7 is there in the numbers unit place. So square will be 9 at a unit place. So clear? That is property 4. Now, property 5. If a number has 4 or 6 in the units place, then its square ends in 6. See the table. 4 4 the 16. 6 6 the 36. Like as 14, the square is 196. 16, 256. So all square numbers are ending with a 6. Clear? Now property 6. If a number has 5 in the unit place, then its square ends in 5. 5 5 are 25. 15 into 15, 225. 25 square, 625. 35 square, 1225. All are ending with 5. Now, property 7. When a number ends with a 0, its square ends with a double zeros. Isn't it? See, 10 square that is 100, 20 square 400, 30 square 900, like that. Means if you are having two zeros, then the square having four zeros. Means even number of zeros are there. So 100 square that is equal to 10,000, like as 200 square. So what is the result? When a number ends with a 0, its square ends with a double zeros. If it is double zero, then the square ends with a 4 zeros. Or if a number ends with odd number of zeros, then it is not a perfect square. Clear? Now, property 8. Square of even number is always even. See the table. 2. What is the square? 4. 2 is an even number, so square also even. Like as 4, 16, 6, 36, 8, 64, 10, 100, so on. So the square of an even number is always even, like as odd number. That is the property 9. Square of odd numbers is always odd. 1, the square is 1. 3, the square is 9. 5, square is 25. 7, 49. 9, 81. So on. So what is the result? The square of even number is even and the square of odd numbers are odd. So that is the property 8 and 9. Clear? Next point is patterns of square numbers. Some interesting patterns of square numbers you can see here. First one is a multiplication table. So here one crossed line is there that is circled the numbers. Can you see? So these all numbers are square numbers. See 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, 100, 121, 144, so on. Here, so this is one important pattern of multiplication table that is giving the numbers of squares. Now, second table you can see the square of numbers is given. Then the same square, if you are adding, you will get the square of another number. For example, first 1 square that is equal to 1. That is the square of 1. 11 square that is equal to 121. If you are adding 121 separately means 1 plus 2 plus 1, you will get 4 that is equal to 2 square. Now 111 square means 3 ones are there. So how the numbers are coming? First it is going increasing order, then decreasing means 1, 2, then 3, then 2 and 1 is repeating again. So then if you are adding the numbers, then what you are getting? 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1 that is equal to 9. That is equal to 3 square. So it is going like this. You can see the pattern. It's also an interesting pattern. Here you can see some more patterns. First, how many circles are there? 1, isn't it? So that is the square of 1. Second one, 4. That is 2 square is equal to 1 plus 3. Third one, it is 9. That is 3 square. So that we can see that 2 square plus 2 plus 2 plus 1. This is also one important pattern. In down you can see, go through the table down what it is given there. 2 square plus 2 plus 2 plus 1 that is equal to 3 square. Likewise 3 square plus 3 plus 3 plus 1 that is equal to 4 square. 4 square plus 4 plus 4 plus 1 that is equal to 5 square. 5 square plus 5 plus 5 plus 1 that is equal to 6 square. Likewise 10 square plus 10 plus 10 plus 1 that is equal to 11 square. Understood it? The same way it will move. Now, another one more pattern is there in right side. 1 is equal to 1 square. 1 plus 3 means adding odd numbers. 1 plus 3 is equal to 4. That is equal to 2 square. 1 plus 3 plus 5, 9. 1 plus 3 plus 5 plus 7, that is 16. That is 4 square. Means we are adding 4 odd numbers. Then we are getting the square of 4. Adding 5 odd numbers, we are getting the square of 5. Like as if we are adding n odd numbers, we will get the square of n. So now one more pattern is given down. See, 13 square that is equal to 169. Now in between we are adding 1 0. So you can see that after and before in the answer 6 means 13 square is 169, isn't it? Now 103 square means there in between 6 is there. 169, 6 is there. And before and after 10 is added there. 103, 10 is there. So that 0 is added there after and before of 6. Next one, two zeros are there. Then after and before 6, two zeros added in the answer. Same way, three zeros, we can add 30 there. Same way, four zeros and four zeros we can add in between 6. Clear? So last pattern also you can see. This pattern we already seen before. So 11 into 11, 121 means 3 ones are there. So 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. Same way 4 ones are there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. Like so many patterns are given in your textbook also. You can go through the patterns and see the interesting facts there. Okay. Next topic is Pythagorean triplets. You already heard about this name, isn't it? Pythagoras theorem? Yes, you have learned about that, right? Okay, let's not talk about that. First, let's see what is Pythagorean triplets. Yes, these have a very close relationship with the Pythagoras theorem, isn't it? Therefore, it is named this way. Triplet means what? Triplet means it is a set of three numbers. So, Pythagorean triplet is the collection of three numbers such that the sum of the squares of the two numbers is equal to the square of the third number. Let's take an example. Let us suppose that you have three numbers 3, 4 and 5. So if these three numbers are such that square of 3 and square of 4, if you do their sum, you get a square of 5. If this relationship will hold true, then 3, 4, 5 is a Pythagorean triplet. Let's see. 3 square plus 4 square is equal to 5 square. 3 square 9 plus 4 square 16. 9 plus 16 25. So 5 square is also 25. So it is correct. So, any three numbers such that sum of the squares of two numbers is equal to the square of the third number, if this relationship holds true, that means those three numbers form a Pythagorean triplet. And what are these each numbers called? These each numbers called the members of the Pythagorean triplet. For example, here 3 is the member of the Pythagorean triplet, 4 is the member, and 5 is also the member of the Pythagorean triplet. So, 3, 4, 5 forms a Pythagorean triplet. Now, let me tell you how is it related to the Pythagoras theorem. So, let's quickly recap the Pythagoras theorem. The Pythagoras theorem holds true only for right-angled triangles, isn't it? So, if you have a right-angled triangle, say ABC, where AB is the perpendicular, BC is the base which the perpendicular is drawn, and AC is the hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is that side which is exactly opposite of the right angle, or it is the longest side also. Then, as per the Pythagoras theorem, square of the hypotenuse is equal to the sum of the squares of the perpendicular and the base. So, do you find any resemblance between the Pythagoras theorem and this triplet concept? Means any similarity is there? Yes, because we are talking about almost the same thing. So when we say 3 square plus 4 square is equal to 5 square, it is almost like your hypotenuse is 5, your perpendicular and base are 3 and 4 respectively, isn't it? So that's the link between Pythagoras theorem and Pythagorean triplets. Clear? In fact, this is why we called also any three numbers which satisfy the relationship of the Pythagoras theorem, those three numbers are called Pythagorean triplet. So let us take another example. Let's say you have three numbers 5, 12, and 13. So do you think that they are formed by Pythagorean triplet? Let's check. Now, whenever you want to check if it satisfies the relationship of Pythagoras theorem, what are you going to do? Just look at these three numbers, whichever is the biggest number, that is going to be your hypotenuse. So let's see, in this case, 13 is the biggest number. So in this case, what you will do? You find the sum of the squares of the other two numbers, that is 5 and 12. Find out 5 square, add it up to the square of 12. So you get 5 square is 25 plus 12 square is 144. So 25 plus 144 is equal to 169. Now you find out the square of the biggest number, that is 13. So when you find it out into this, is also 169, isn't it? 13 square is equal to 169. Therefore, you can see that 5 square plus 12 square is equal to 13 square. So that means the relationship holds true in this case. So they form a Pythagorean triplet. So the moment we see that 5, 12 and 30, they form a Pythagorean triplet, what we needed, these three can form the sides of a right angled triangle. That is, the hypotenuse is 13 and one of the side like base is 12 and the perpendicular side is 5. So they can form a right angled triangle. So I hope you understood that the relationship of Pythagorean triplet and Pythagoras theorem. Okay. Now here you can see one example of the membrane triplet. What are the members of Pythagorean triplet? Generally, it is using as 2m, m square minus 1, m square plus 1. These are the general rules of Pythagorean triplets. Yeah, members of Pythagorean triplets. This also the same way we can say that our hypotenuse, perpendicular, and base. Okay, let's see the example. Write a Pythagorean triplets whose one member is 6. One member is already given there, isn't it? 6. So we have to find the other two members. For that, we can use the general form. What is the general form? 2m, m square minus 1 and m square plus 1. So from this, we can find the value of m first. So let me take 2m is equal to 6. So m is equal to 6 upon 2 is equal to 3. So we got the value of m is 3. Now we can put this value in m square minus 1 and m square plus 1. So m square minus 1, that is 3 square minus 1. 9 minus 1 is 8. Same way 9 plus 1 is 10. So we got the triplets are 6, 8 and 10. Now we have to check the answer if it is right or not. How could we check? We can use the Pythagoras theorem. What is the theorem? Hypotenuse square is equal to the sum of other two sides square. So here hypotenuse, we know that the longest side, isn't it? So here the biggest number is 10. So 10 square is equal to 6 square plus 8 square. So 10 square is 100. 6 square 36 plus 8 square 64. So 36 plus 64, that is 100. So here we got in both the side 100, isn't it? Yes. So LHS is equal to RHS. So we can say that 6, 8 and 10 are the three members of this Pythagorean triplet. Clear? Okay. Here, the table is showing some Pythagorean triplets. See, 3, 4, 5, 5, 12, 13. These all are we already done, isn't it? So, same way, so many other numbers also given there. Means other triplets also given. These all are Pythagorean triplets. You can go through. Okay. we are winding up this video. Okay. So few points we already discussed. Few points are remaining that we will discuss with the next session. So whatever points are discussed that you go through thoroughly, then you can solve try these questions, whatever is given in your textbook. So try to do. Okay. Thank you. Or one more thing with this session, I am giving you the second assignment, that is assignment 2. So solve the questions properly and submit. Okay.